Hi and welcome to the FinancialFox. This is Steffy and today I will be joined by Tiago Amaral, founder of InＸvitable. He's one of the top 10 Web3 speakers and also our expert on how to start a career in Web3. Before we get into the interview, let's take a moment to talk about our sponsor, EMG. EMG is a Web3 telecom super app that aims to be the first to revolutionize the way you interact with digital assets on your smartphone. Instead of switching between multiple apps, you just need to download one. The all-in-one EMG super app is your one-stop destination for instant messaging, video calls, e-commerce, travel, money transfer, and many other exciting features. So with EMG app, you can stay connected with your loved one, send money, pay your bills, book a taxi, shop the latest product, and even build your own digital store, all in one place. Can it be the next WeChat or Amazon? Well, watch this space. Hi Tiago, how are you?
Hey Steffi, I'm great. And you?
Yeah, I'm good. So, quick intro before we get into our topic, how to get a career in Web3.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Tiago Amaral. I'm the co-founder of InXvitable Future Institute, and I have been working with education and innovation for a few years now. And now I'm focused on providing education about innovation, AI, Web3, and the future as a whole for companies and leaders.
Okay, brilliant. So, billion-dollar question. Why people, young generation, the old generation, everyone should think about a career in Web3?
Yeah, I think it's the same as we could say, think about here in, internet or technology today. Like Web3 right now is moving very fast. We have some bubbles like NFTs and so on, but all these technologies, they are really, really powerful and they have the potential to change a lot of things in our careers, in our businesses and so on. So I think that's why people should pay attention to Web3. And it doesn't matter if you are not a tech person, if you're not a developer, there are a lot of opportunities for different fields, different areas. And Web3 is the next step of the internet. We are moving from Web 2, maybe from Web 2.5 before we go into Web 3. But it's important to know the concepts, to know, what's changing and how these technologies will impact businesses. So I think this is why it is important.
Yeah, so I kind of think the same way. It's like we understand that Web3 technology are changing our world and we don't want to miss it, right? You need to kind of skill up. You need to get into it. Otherwise, it's not you're going to perish, but you're going to be left behind. Okay, so where to start? How people can start a career in Web3? For example, should they study? Are there any specific certification courses that people need to get, or they can just dive into it?
Yeah, the certifications are just getting started, but I think that one of the first things people should do could be reading the Bitcoin white paper and studying about Bitcoin. Not in a investment perspective, like I'm going to get rich, I'm going to put, money on Bitcoin and trade and everything, but to really understand why all this blockchain and decentralization started and why that matters. So I think this could be a very good starting point. And then something I'd really like to talk is sometimes when we start to study a new field, we start to follow, 100 different sources and read everything. And this can be good, but especially in an environment like Web3, this can be very overwhelming. So I think people could start by choosing very well, like 3 or 5 really good and trustful sources and starting, studying those sources. And then you can start to consume everything. So you can, you will not feel overwhelmed about Web3 because Web3 is a very simple word, but it's not a simple space, you know. We have a lot of different areas and fields. We have digital identity, we have tokenization and so on. So you can feel like, oh man, this is too complicated. I'll never, be able to understand this. So I think choosing maybe 3 to 5 great sources, it's a good starting point. And then, of course, you can, be more specific depending on your area or what you want to build.
I think that's a really good point. I remember when I started in 2017, I did a few courses actually with MIT, with Oxford University, and they were, I would say, very good, interesting courses, and I learned something very valuable. However, reading the Bitcoin white paper and actually listening at the right podcast and do stuff, investing your own things, sometimes losing money, sometimes making money, it kind of gave me much more than just listening at a course.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point because, okay, reading is great, like listening to podcasts and interviews and so on. That's very important, but you need to get your hands dirty so you can really understand the applications and why they are so important and the potential we have there. So I'm not saying here, go invest and put a lot of money on NFTs and buy a lot of tokens.
No. Absolutely not. Definitely. Yeah. By the way, this is not financial advice. Everybody should be aware that, it's your money, it's your risk. I mean, talking about mistake, I did something so stupid once. I had some USDT on my Binance wallet and I just sent them straight to Coinbase without understanding there was a different chain, and blue, they just disappear. Yeah. And that was good learning.
Yes, exactly. And you need to start using the applications. You need to start using Uniswap or OpenSea or Mirror, for example. You need to understand how these applications work. But of course, you need to do that in a very responsible way. But that's the best way to learn, like really using those applications in a responsible way. And I don't know, maybe you can buy some NFTs to start things, or you don't need to spend a penny sometimes. You can write something on a mirror, for example. That's a great way to start. So yeah, there are a lot of different Web3 applications, but this is one of the best ways to get started besides reading and listening to podcasts and watching videos and so on.
Exactly. I think can always play with the money that you can lose, basically. You are happy to lose. Anyway, maybe talking about some podcasts, maybe we can share some podcasts that we think are good. I'm going to give maybe 2 podcasts, maybe a part of the FinancialFox. I think Bankless is really, really good. Then I listed the breakdown myself, and A16Z. Sometimes they have got interesting deep dive into, avatar and AI or different kind of topics. What are yours?
Yeah, I would say 3, but you already mentioned it 2 that are Andreessen Horowitz and Bankless, but also Blockworks. They have a great network of podcasts that are really interesting. They are not just Web3, they are not financial, but they are great. So I think these 3 would be a good starting point.
Okay, brilliant. So we gave her already a lot of information. Now, talking about the skills that you need to succeed in Web3, it's not just about, you need to be able to code, for example, or you need to be great with social media. I think there are some other skills that people, they are diving into this space, they need to have, which, is a resilience, for example, as well. And, ability to connect communities. And I would like to ask you, what would you say are the most important skills? So we can mention, 3 or 5 to start a career in Web3.
Yeah, I think first one would be collaboration, because Web3 is all about collaboration. And in a world that we have, AI and smart contracts and so on, automating everything, human collaboration is very, very important and will be much more important than it is today. So I think collaboration and also, community skills is very important as well, because community is at the core of Web3. So understanding why a community is different from an audience, for example, that's very, very important. So community skills as well. And also, I think that, learning how to build trust. I think this is very important because Web3 is awesome. Web3 is great. But right now, a lot of people that are building in Web3, they are like tech bros talking for other tech bros. They are not interested in bringing these technologies for, the masses. And I think this is important. So we can bring more and more people into Web3. But in order to do that, we need to build trust, because the UX right now in UI and so on in Web3, they are not that great yet. So I think the ability to build trust with users is very important. And that, can mean like code as well. You can, build a code in a very trustful way, but also in communication or marketing or business development. So I think this skill of building trust is very important for Web3, especially in the moment that we are living in the industry right now.
Quick break and back to our sponsors. The SuperApp include an NFT marketplace and a selection of e-games that helps you to earn as you play. EMG partners with Polygon, which makes the transaction super affordable, and it is powered by EMG Coin, a utility token that used to facilitate transaction within the app. Spending in the SuperApp get you rewards and access to exclusive deals. EMG is funded and supported by Melody Group, which has been providing technology services to the world's largest telecommunication company and partnering with household names for over 20 years. The group employs over 20 highly experienced software engineers, and it has millions of active users worldwide. EMG is revolutionizing the global network of communication infrastructures. And if you like to find out more, the links are in the description. Completely agree with you. Now, what are the common job titles in Web3? So, there is quite a few. Even the world developers, is so much more complex than what it is, because there are different kind of developers. Then you have got this word which is BD, business development. What do they do? Some company has got so many BD, and then there's still B marketing. Then there are still engineers. Then there is a user experience, which is very important. What would you say are the main jobs in Web3 that people may be looking to start a career, they should consider based on their skills and also the way they want to get involved in the space?
Yeah, I think we have more specific jobs for Web3, like, for example, jobs related to communities or for tokenization, for example. Like tokenization is a Web3 thing. So this is very, very related to Web3 companies or giant Web2 companies that are building Web3 ventures. So these are very specific and they are not that huge right now, but they will certainly be huge in the future. So understanding tokenization and communities and so on. But I think that at the end of the day, the jobs are not that different. I think maybe the skills and the tasks, they are evolving for Web3. So for example, you probably will have a CMO that is working as a CMO or a head of marketing or a content creator in a Web3 company, but you have some very specific points that are different from Web2. And of course, you can, use the same skills you have in your Web2 role, in your Web2 company in Web3. But as we said, you need to develop some other skills in order to really understand Web2. And here we can talk again about understanding tokenization, understanding blockchain, understanding white papers, understanding communities, and so on and so on. So I think the job titles will evolve, but more than the job titles, I think the skills and the tasks will evolve as well.
Okay. Chief Metaverse Officer.
Yeah.
And I get you. I think there is a lot of creativity in the titles, but it's really all about skills. Now,
Yeah.
one question you mentioned about AI. What are the jobs that can be automated by AI in your views?
I think almost all of them, to be, to be honest. Like, this is interesting because we talk about AI automating jobs, but there's certain degrees on that. Like, AI will automate tasks. So in my job, for example, that involves a lot of writing, for example, AI is helping me a lot on that, as a productivity tool. And I think every professional should think about that. Like, it's going to happen. Like, AI will replace a lot of jobs, and AI will replace a lot of tasks. I think the second point is more important because some people can think, hey, my job is secure, my job's secure against AI. I'm sure of that. And okay, maybe AI will not, steal 100% of your job, but will probably replace a lot of tasks. It can be 30%, it can be 50%, it can be 80%, but it will replace a lot of tasks. So you need to get prepared for using AI as a tool for productivity and start to think about, okay, if I'm not doing this anymore, I'm not delivering value on this specific area anymore, how can I achieve value and how can I deliver value in other areas?
Completely agree. Now, which tools are you using? ChatGPT or any others that related to ChatGPT?
Yes,
Maybe we can,
ChatGPT,
yeah.
as well as Midjourney and Leonardo that are focusing on images, generate images, and so on. Mostly these two. I have used other tools in the past, like Descript to clone my voice and Synthesia to create a 3D avatar of myself. I think Copy AI as well, and other, minor tools. But today in my workflow, it's mainly ChatGPT and Midjourney and Leonardo. And of course, we are discovering new tools every single day. So probably 3 months from now, I'll be using more tools.
Exactly, exactly. Now, when we are talking about a job or working in Web3, that's very different than the usual Web2 or even, the usual working because there is remote working involved. There are different kind of interaction between, teams. So let's maybe say that what are the benefits of Web3 and what are the challenges of Web3 jobs?
Yeah, I think that the benefits, as you said, like if you like remote working, Web3 is very oriented towards remote and global working. So that's a huge benefit if you like that, of course. And also another great benefit is that you are working in a very specific industry in a very specific time frame. So it's like working, at the beginning of the commercial internet, and that can be very powerful to your career in the next 10 or maybe 20 years. So I think this is very powerful, but also we have a lot of challenges. Like the market is still very volatile today. Like builders are still building, of course, and companies that have a lot of money and raise a lot of money, they are still building. But if you are in a small startup or if you are, a consultant or something like that, that can be very challenging because the market is not consolidated yet. So it can be very volatile. Sometimes, like 2021, we have all that, hype around NFTs and a lot of NFT consultants, and a lot of NFT tools and so on and so on. And then we got the crypto winter, and all those volumes and collections and so on went down. And
Yeah.
this is very challenging. But of course, if you can keep building and keep maintaining yourself alive during this crypto winters, 5 years from now, things can be consolidated and the market will be very different. So I think this is the major challenge. And of course, I think upgrading your skills for this environment can be very challenging because sometimes things are not intuitive compared to Web 2, like given much more powerful for the community and for users and so on. And this is not true for every industry, of course, but can be very challenging for a lot of managers that's very usual for them to work in the same way like for 20 years. And they are not wrong. We know that this is very difficult, but it's a challenge that you need to overcome if you need to understand Web3.
Completely with you. I think to succeed in Web3, you need to be very resourceful. You need to be able to adapt because nothing is there. Not for even forever. It can't be there. Maybe next month it's not going to be there. So you always need to be kind of reinventing yourself and stay up to date. And yeah, you need to be resourceful. That's probably the main skill. Now, final question, where to apply for Web3 jobs?
Yeah, we have today we have a lot of websites that are getting very specific for Web3. Like Web3.careers, for example, and other companies like that, where you can find very specific roles just for Web3. But also on LinkedIn, you can find some huge corporations that are hiring for Web3 roles, like Spotify, like Amazon, like Shopify, Starbucks, and so on and so on. So I think these specific websites are a great resource. On these specific websites, you will find more native Web3 companies like protocols and tools and so on. And of course, in other websites like LinkedIn, you can find more Web2 or Web1 or traditional companies that starting to hire for Web3 and experiment and build some ventures and so on. It really depends on your profile as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can join a Web2 company going into Web3, or you can go straight into a Web3 company like, for instance, Coinbase, Gemini, Kraken, there are Binance, there are Sandbox, there are so many out there. Yeah. It really depends on, what you are willing to do and what are your main skills. It's always kind of come down to yourself, what you're good at. I think that's what people should bear in mind. It's not that, okay, I want to be in Web3, I'm going to do something. It's actually look inside yourself and think about what I'm good at. I'm a people person. I'm a good coder. I like to stay on my own. It's kind of like understanding what makes you happy and what you're good at, and then go after those kind of jobs that reflect this. So
and as we talked, Web3 is very challenging, and a lot of Web3 companies have a lot of funding, but a lot of companies do not have a lot of funding. So you need to understand your profile, and if you are a risk taker or not, it really depends.
Exactly. When you said about companies sometimes don't have much money, then it comes down to the point that some there will be probably many, they are actually offering you, rather than a salary, they are offering you tokens. So what's your views on this? Is that something that is going to become the norm? I mean, sometimes companies do offer shares, or is perhaps something that you should avoid? You should say it's better to avoid for people getting into Web3.
I think that long term, this will be commonplace for sure. Tokenization will be everywhere, and today, like, companies are offering shares, they will offer their own tokens. That's awesome. I think longer term, that's the vision. Today, I think people need to be very careful on that, because let's be clear, like 99% of tokens are worth nothing at the end of the day. So you can be very lucky and enter the space in a very specific company that will be very successful, and those tokens will worth a lot of money. But I would be very careful on accepting those kind of offers.
Yeah. Okay. I think we kind of cover quite a lot, and I would say, Tiago, thank you so much. Perhaps we can, you can jump again on the show maybe in a few months' time, and maybe we see what we can discuss. Maybe it's a career in AI. Now everybody's talking about it. And or maybe could be something else. Tiago, thank you so much for coming on the show. Anybody that is interested in following you, where should I go?
Yeah, sure. Today, my most active profile is on LinkedIn, Tiago Amaral. I'm posting there every single day. And I also write a newsletter on Substack called InXvitable by Tiago Amaral. So I think these two are the best channels. Thank you so much, Steph.
So go and subscribe to Tiago newsletter. And I will see you soon, Tiago.
Thank you, Steph. It was a pleasure.
Bye.
Bye-bye.